Hey everyone, I hope you can hear me. This is Asper TV, and today I'm going to do a short video about Jason David Frank. I don't know if you guys know him, but he was like the main person in Power Rangers back in the day, and he's been kind of the face of the franchise for the past maybe 10, 20, 30 years, yeah. And I don't know if you guys know, but he passed away last Saturday. I'm not going to go into details as to what happened exactly because I want to get cancelled off YouTube. But the most important thing I want to talk about today is more about mental health and how, I mean, even these famous stars like him were obviously affected by mental health. And if you guys don't know, some news came out that Jason was going through depression. There was even stuff saying that he was going to break up with his wife, but that's not confirmed as such. But I think for me, it raises alarms in terms of that these famous people who many of us actually grew up with. I don't know if you guys saw, but Kevin Conroy was though passed away. He obviously his situation was with cancer, and it was only 10 days apart between him and Jason David Frank. But it just makes you think, like with Jason, he was someone who was always apparently a very happy guy, and he had a very good relationship with the fans. Unfortunately, I never got to meet him, but he was pretty much the reason when I was younger that I used to watch Power Rangers, and for me, he was pretty much my childhood hero. But the point of this video is more to do with the fact that, with mental health. And for someone like me who had kind of suffered with that sort of mental health that he did, obviously with him, maybe it wasn't a greater extent than I did. My mental health was more during lockdown back in 2020. And again, this video isn't really about me, it's just about mental health in general. And of course, Jason David Frank, someone who was probably earning, millions and millions of pounds. Like I said, he was literally a fan favorite ranger, if you want to phrase it like that. He appeared in almost every single season of the series thus far. I think they're actually going to do a 30th anniversary special. I'm not sure if they're going to be involved in that. But the point I'm trying to say is that, like with mental health, it's really, really important. And the fact that we see stars like him, who we will assume, someone like him shouldn't be suffering for something like this, depression and whatever else he was going through. Depression is the one thing that was sort of like confirmed, I guess, through the news and Twitter and that sort of thing. But I think the important thing is, like, as guys especially, when you're going through these stuff like mental health, you have to kind of, I don't know, like for me, I saw a therapist during that period, and you kind of have to talk to someone. I mean, even if it's just on Twitter. I mean, you see a lot of times on Twitter, I'm quite big on Twitter, that people post these sort of things in terms of like saying, oh, I'm not happy or blah, blah, blah. But in that scenario, if you're the other person on the other end seeing this, you kind of just have to message them and always check up on people. And like I said, to go back to Jason, even though he was saying up front with his fans, like he was very, very happy. He was, like I said, always warm to his fans. Apparently, I was reading like on YouTube or Twitter, one of the social media things. I mean, he last week a fan saw him, or now it's a couple of weeks ago, and he seemed happy. He seemed fine. But it's more on to raise awareness in the sense that mental health is like really important, and especially in terms of like we're focused on depression in this video. If you're going through something like that, you have to talk to someone. That's just my opinion. Like I said, when I've gone through this thing, I've either got out of the situation I was in that caused me to be that sort of way. It can be sometimes environmental, from my previous experience, I guess, for me. And in terms of sometimes it's just everything at once, right? But for him, I raised when in the sense that, the fact if this thing about his whole wife is true and whatever, but, you know, these stars still suffer through depression. And I know this is Tottenham related, it's not really Tottenham related to the video, but obviously Danny Rose, suffered through depression at some point. But with someone like Jason, who, for me, you wouldn't have suspected it. Like I said, people I read online, people who, like I said, saw him a couple of weeks ago before he did what he did, or passed away, they said he was fine, and because he was smiling, he was, But if you're going through something like that, like he did, your best bet is to just talk to someone, whether it's a friend, a family member, or even like a therapist. Just talk to someone, because what he went through was like obviously very horrible, and it says a lot for someone like Jason, who did what he did and went through what he did. For him, like I said, he was such a huge star, and was many, not just my childhood hero. A lot of other people who grew up in the 90s will know who I'm talking about. Tommy Oliver, Power Rangers. We all loved him. Like, I don't think I actually met anyone who watched the show who didn't actually like him. And, for him to go through something like that, it means that anyone can go through it if you think about it. So whether you're in the vortex, and I call it like the vortex. So Jason himself must have been in the vortex, but you couldn't see outside of it. Because when you're experiencing it, it's very different. Obviously, I don't know exactly what he experienced. He was also going through depression. For what reasons, I might not be able to say or pinpoint on here, because I might get cancelled. But from what what reports were saying, is that he got a row with his wife, like I said earlier in this video. But obviously, for him to do what he did, and for him to go through that, it must be something over a longer period. And for me, like I said, with men's mental health especially, obviously we have to be like stoic and sort of non-emotional. And I would never advise someone to be very emotional as just as a guy, especially to be so super emotional. Obviously, everyone goes through like bad times, and obviously depression is like one of the worst of the times, right? But I just feel like if you're going through that, you probably have to talk to someone and have that difficult conversation. And like I said, that's just based on my previous experience. And after, even now, it's been, I think, it's been 8 days, I think, since it happened, maybe 8, 9 days. Like, it still hurts. As someone who grew up in the 90s, it still hurts that he's passed, Jason, because, like I said, he was my childhood hero, and he's probably was other people's. I don't know how many people on my channel used to watch Power Rangers back in the day, or I don't think he had many other work not that I know off the top of my head, but if you grew up in the 90s, you would have known who he was, because he was literally on our TVs like every week or every day, however you want to phrase it. But yeah, it's very sad that he passed, but for me, it has kind of raised awareness. If you are going through something like depression or any other mental health issue of some sort, at least the answer, in my opinion, is just you need to talk to someone. I'm not saying like a antagonizing way. I'm just saying, like, as in, maybe if he spoke to like a therapist, or he's called up a friend and his friend was like, come around and we'll just speak about it, or just he took himself out of the vortex. For me, the vortex is what people don't, obviously you don't realize it when you're in it, but I've learned over the years, like I said, is, in my opinion, it's like the vortex. If you're in the vortex, you don't realize what's sort of going on sometimes within yourself, but then you have to kind of like notice the red flags, or the small things that are like chipping away. And like I said, like with Jason, for him to be going for something like that, something must have happened. But also at the same time, it raised awareness in the sense that the fact what happened. I mean, for him to get to that stage, it must be something really bad. But at the same time, it's something that builds up over like a longer period. And I think I think sometimes people in general need to be more aware of just mental health, and especially with men's mental health, because it's like another person who's passed, who someone obviously didn't help him, or he didn't feel that he could ask for help for someone, or something like that. And like I said, depression is like a massive thing. But I just want to end the video on one thing. Like, for one, is like condolences, obviously, Jason and his family, and it's horrible. Honestly, it's actually horrible. Like, I'm still sad about it now. The fact I'm making this video 10 days after, 10 days after, says a lot, because it, to me, only really got to the point now where I can actually make a video about it, because I still felt so sad about it past few days. I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, you can see why I changed my picture something related to it, and even on WhatsApp as well. But yeah, you need to kind of realize when you're in the vortex, and then from there try and get out of it. And yeah, that's what I said. But I think people need to be more aware of men's mental health as being like an important thing. Obviously, I'm not saying women's isn't, but I'm just saying with men, in this case, it's more, you know, especially because, like I said, men, we're not meant to be like emotional or in that sort of way. It's just, that's just my opinion. I don't think we should be at all. And yeah, and rest in peace, Jason David Frank.